seem as if it was one day or less than a day. يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْضَ يَوْم. This is what the Quran is telling us. It's always amazed me how a form of butterfly, it's called copper butterfly, and there's another form of butterfly, the small blue ones. They only live one day. One single day is the average lifespan of a copper butterfly. One single day. Maybe for them, the minutes and seconds and hours will seem like days and months and years. For us, I don't know. But they only get to witness one sunrise and one sunset. How many do we get to witness? How many sunrises and sunsets do we experience? If we live 70 years, that's 25,000 days. 25,000 sunsets and 25,000 sunrises. What is the lesson that we can discern? The hadith says that back in the old days, people were able to live a lot more than us today. Thousands of years maybe. According to the Quran, Noah lived 1,950 years just preaching and promoting the religion of God to his nation. And then he lived another 1,000 years. So that's a total of 1,950 years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to one of his prophets that at the end of times, people will only live 70 years. That's their average lifespan. He said, if I made it, if I was able to live until then, I would spend all the 70 years in one sajdah, prostrating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that's nothing. It will perish in no time. It will come to an end soon. And Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says in one tradition, كُلُّ آتٍ قَرِيبٍ. Everything that is coming, everything that is approaching is very near. It will happen very soon. So we should open our eyes. And the believer is a person that takes the lessons from everything and everyone around him. الَّذِينَ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Those that contemplate at all times. Those that think all the time. For example, we have traditions that say that we should always think, where did I come from? And think about life all the time. The house that I'm living in was one day occupied by someone else. They died, they perished. It's now my turn. And one day I will perish. Other people will occupy the same house. We should always think, we should always contemplate, we should always reflect and take lessons from everything. The food that you eat, the fruits you eat. Hasn't it occurred to you how an apple and an orange, they both grew in the same soil, taking the sun's energy, the same sun, the same oxygen, and yet they look totally different, they taste totally different. Their nutritional benefits are totally different. What does that tell you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? One of the lessons that we have to learn and take from life is the passage of time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ خِلْفَةً لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يَتَذَكَّرَ أَوْ أَرَادَ شُكُورًا. He was the one that made the cycle of day and night. Day follows the night, and night follows the day. لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يَذَّكَّرَ. For those that wish to be reminded, wish to be heedful and aware. The Prophet of Islam says, woe unto that person that recites this verse and is not reminded. جَعَلَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ خِلْفَةً. Why did God create the cycle of day and night? Why aren't we brought to this life in a very static way? We come to this life while we're grown-ups and then we die suddenly after 70 years. No. We are placed in the womb of the mother for 9 months, then we're delivered. Then we go through all these stages, we grow up, we reach maternity, and then we become old again after we age, and then we die. And we witness the cycle of day and night all the time. So that we open our eyes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to deliver a message to us that this is the passage of time, and one day it will come to an end. The sun that I see every day, the sun that shines above me every day used to shine thousands, millions of years ago. But all the people perished. And I will perish one day. وَهُمْ يَصْطَرِخُونَ فِيهَا. According to the Quran, the people that are doomed to be punished in eternal hellfire, they will shout, cry out loud. They say, "Oh God, please save us. Please take us out of hellfire. We will do good. We will return to life and be good people." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ. Didn't we give you the opportunity to live a life that is filled with reminders? Didn't we give you the opportunity? A man comes to Imam Sadiq, he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to something specific. He is telling them that we gave you the opportunity, a certain amount of time, enough for you to be reminded. What age is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referring to? He said the age of 18. When you reach the peak of maturity, you will not be able to come up with excuses on the Day of Judgment. أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ. Didn't we give you the opportunity? And this was the mindset of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his companions. He is telling his brother Muhammad as if this life was never, ever, that this life never existed. وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. And as if the hereafter was always there. That's why when Imam al-Hussein was talking to Umar ibn Sa'd, the commander of the army that killed our master, he said to him that we'll die one day. I'll die, you'll die, we'll all die one day. Wake up. Choose something that will be beneficial for you in the hereafter. He couldn't. There were many barriers that obstructed his view, that prevented him from viewing life in its true and original nature. He couldn't. But the companions of Imam al-Hussein knew that life will come to an end. The enemies of Imam al-Hussein also died. Yes, they weren't killed, but eventually they died. Now what? They had to view the now what, the second stage that will ensue after their death. This is something that they failed to see. الدنيا منتهى بصر الأعمى. A blind person only sees this life. But a person with vision, with eyes with insight, can also see the hereafter, can see the bigger picture, and not limit and narrow his scope and just see this life. This is the main difference between us and the materialistic mindset that only see this life. أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرَ. We gave you the opportunity. We gave you the greatest asset. The companions of Imam al-Hussein had this asset, and the enemies of Imam al-Hussein had the same asset. But his companions took advantage of this valuable asset. But his enemies, unfortunately, did not take advantage of the assets. They used and consumed life and time, but with life, they purchased something low, something that doesn't deserve, according to a hadith, أنفاسكم ليس لها ثمن إلا الجنة. The time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala endowed you with, you only have to purchase the eternal bliss with it. And nothing else is worthy of being purchased with our lives. It's so important. And concentrate and focus on the bigger picture. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam wanted to leave to the city of Karbala, he delivered a sermon. In the sermon he said, الدنيا حلوها ومرها حلم. My God, I can speak hours and hours explaining these words. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam said that everything in this life